move to the next school on the lineup, and that will be Royal School Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton. And representing this school, we have Alex Large and Jamie, the head of admissions.
Hello, hi. Thank you to Silva. Thank you for your introduction. I'm going to share my presentation, if that's okay. Good morning, everybody.
That's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay, so welcome. My name is Alex Large. I'm the head of boarding here at the Royal School and also a house parent in the boys' house. Now, the Royal School is a state boarding school. What that means is that we are a member of the state sector. Our education is funded by the government. So unlike the independent sector, we only charge for the boarding fees. So the education is free, and you only pay for the boarding. And also another advantage for us is that we're not subject to the recent VAT rise. So we've been able to keep our fees, our annual fees, at the same price as they were before that rise came in, which is great for us. The bad news, unfortunately, which may rule some of you out, is that you do have to have the right to live in the UK or a British passport. Your child has to have that to attend our school. So please kind of continue to listen to our presentation, find out a bit more about us. But we have slightly different conditions for our school being a member of the state sector compared to some of the other schools you'll see today. So first of all, where are we? We're based in Wolverhampton. And for those of you who don't know where that is, that's just 20 minutes away from Birmingham. So we have a major airport, kind of 40-minute drive away. We're also based in the middle of the country, so we're easily accessible to Liverpool, to Manchester. We can get to London and back to Euston in kind of 2 hours, which is great. So in terms of that location in the UK, it's a fabulous transport hub. And that means that we can get to lots of other places in the UK where there's loads of things happening, particularly at weekends with activities and things like that I'll get on to talk about in a minute. Also, more locally, the school itself is just a 10-minute kind of walk into the city centre, into Wolverhampton, into the shops where most of our boarders will end up on a Saturday afternoon. And then if you go the other way, we're into some fabulous countryside, so we can go for walks and going up hills and things like that. So in terms of our location, it's a fantastic place to be. Now, our boarding structure, we have both boys and girls that board with us from age 11 all the way up to 19. So that's year 7 all the way up to year 13 in both houses. And it leads to a lovely environment in each house where you've got kind of your year 12 and your year 13 boarders effectively being older brothers and sisters to our younger boarders in the house. And it's great in terms of supporting them with their academic work. We can have mentors in the house. If you're in year 9, for example, and you're struggling with a subject, you could be pinpointed to maybe a year 12 who's kind of an expert in that and helping them with their prep. It also means in terms of kind of games and things like that and playing PlayStation in the evening, you've got that kind of real brother or sister relationship in the house, which is a strong theme that you'll find throughout my presentation. Now, in terms of our pastoral care, this is something that I think is really at the forefront of everybody's mind at the minute. There's a significant increase in mental health and anxiety across the UK for all and internationally across all kind of teenagers, partly due to COVID. Partly due to kind of exam pressures, things like that. So we have a real kind of nurturing environment, both in the boarding houses and at school. And the boarding houses have mental health trained first aiders. We're there to spot the patterns. We're there to spot people that are burning out. We're there to spot people that have maybe gone a bit quiet over the past few weeks, and they clearly talk to somebody, and we can direct them to the appropriate help they need. We've got a school counsellor who is excellent, and we can refer them to those. We can assign qualified mentors during the school day, and we have kind of well-being areas throughout the school, and we have a safeguarding team that's renowned in the local area as well, where we can link our practices with professionals and external agencies. We also have an activity programme that we're really proud of. We've introduced a boarding passport. I'm a firm believer that boarders have a tremendous advantage over those who haven't boarded when they get onto kind of university or apprenticeships or wherever they go after they've left us, in the fact that they've really kind of honed their skills and become a lot more independent than their day counterparts. And it's things like having to get into the routine of changing their bed every week, and we make sure they can use an iron. We take them to the food tech room and do some cooking with them. Two lads, you can see in my picture, build a mini greenhouse one of the summers because we wanted to start growing some plants. We've done some pizza making. So there's loads of what we call life skills that we think are really important, that boarders naturally pick up, and we try and document those and show them what they've achieved in their time with us. That's in boarding, and then in the club that predominantly does all the fundraising for the school throughout the time here. So there's opportunities there. That's when our sports teams would practice, particularly for the boys, basketball and football are our main sports. And for the girls, netball and football and other sports there. But we have everything running, from craft clubs to finance clubs to career clubs. So there's lots of things for students to get into after school as well. And then also we have a boarding activity programme on a Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night we have different activities running. We have 2 GAP students from Australia who did some presentation and made some food for all the boarders last night. We've got a quiz night coming up. We've got chocolate bingo, which is always popular. When we can, we get the boarders to a local football match. We go and watch Wolverhampton Wanderers or another local club, or we go to the theatre. So we do those things during the week. And then at the weekends, that's when we do our, what you probably call, more traditional boarding trips, whether it's going to Alton Towers, the local theme park, or whether it's going paintballing, or we had a company come on site and do some fencing with us. There's loads of different opportunities for the boarders to get stuck into at the weekends. And talking of our sports, we're really proud of our...
Lodge. We can't
Yes.
see your presentation anymore, just in case, because you went off
Okay.
very briefly.
Okay. Are you back? Can you see that again now?
Now we can, thank you.
Yeah, excellent. So just to talk about sport a little bit here, we're really proud of some of our recent leavers, and all the people in front of you are boarders who have stayed with us at the Royal School. We have an elite swimming programme that's incredibly popular, and in the top left you've got Matt Richards there, who not only won the gold medal at Tokyo, has then repeated his achievement in Paris last year, and he actually lived in the dorm opposite my flat, which I always think is quite crazy. He's now a gold medalist and world champion.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Mr. Large to come back, Dr. Alo, I've really been itching to hear from you, since yesterday. Okay, Mr. Large is back, all right.
Sorry, do I keep dropping out?
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
But you're back now.
I'm back. Excellent. Right, sorry. Let's try again.
Okay.
So those are some of our sports stars who are former boarders. I'll move on to the academic success that we've had recently. Now, we are a non-selective school, so we are really proud of every pupil, and it's all about meeting the individual needs of whether they want to go to a local university and study agriculture, or whether, like Nick, who came to us, was clearly a high-flying student And we helped support him during the evenings at school with his prep sessions, and got 4 A stars, and went to Cambridge to study economics. So we've got a wide range of students. We encourage everybody to achieve as best as possible, and that may mean going to a Russell Group university. But like I said, it's about getting that right, getting the students and the boarders on the right path for them individually, and making sure they're going on to the next steps that they want to do and achieve. As I said, the family theme is kind of integral to us here at the Royal School, and we have a really committed staff team. And I've pulled a couple of quotes from our fantastic Ofsted report from 2023, October 2023. And I think what's quite a nice story is those 2 lads there aren't boarders, they're my own 2 sons. And I'd mentioned to one of the Nigerian boys in the house that my 2 boys had an African Day coming up at their primary school. And he reached out to his mum, and a week later, these parcels came for me, and she'd sent over some clothes so they could dress up properly for their African Day. And I think that goes to show the relationship that the staff have with the families. They may not be next door down the road. This family is over in Nigeria, but we always send WhatsApps to each other. The amount of messages I get on kind of Christmas Day and New Year's to kind of wish me well, particularly from the African mums, is just such a truly heartwarming thing to receive. And we have a strong passion for our family commitment. And there you go. I'll just leave you with some of the other activities that we get on with, and I'll stop sharing my screen before it pauses again, and I have to get it up. So I'll stop that and get back to just me. So that's the Royal School in a nutshell. If you would like to find out more, there's some great videos on our website, on the Royal School Wolverhampton website. And I think over to you, parents, if you have any questions about the Royal School.
Thank you very much for that presentation. So parents, over to you. If you have any questions, Mr. Large will be more than happy to answer your questions. Let me see if there are any questions. Okay, so while we're waiting for parents to ask their questions, I would want you to speak a bit more on I was going to ask you how vibrant your sports is, but you already mentioned that in your presentation. I see you have a very vibrant sports department. So I want you to speak a little more on your pastoral care.
Yeah, so that's something that I think is quite on trend at the minute, and we do find that students are coming to us and want more support, and we try and put in as much as possible for them. And we've got a connection between the boarding and the day, and we're in regular communication with our day counterparts. So myself in boarding, I know what's happening in the day. And the boarding staff, the day staff, know what's happening in boarding, and it just means that if they've had a bad day at school, or they've something hasn't gone right in a particular lesson, the day staff are very good at picking that up and then letting the boarding staff know. So as soon as they come in the door, we always have a box of biscuits and a drink for them when they arrive. You've got that opportunity to ask them kind of how their day was, and they'll quite often stop for a chat, and you can kind of deconstruct things there, and avoid things building up and then them just going off to their room perhaps and locking themselves away. So you've got a real kind of strong connection between day and boarding. And like I said, in terms of the support, we've got a really big pastoral team. We have what we call heads of house during the day, and assistant heads of house as well, who are non-teaching, so can kind of pick people up and talk to them. And we have a well-being hub, so if a student isn't feeling particularly great that day, or they can't concentrate in a lesson perhaps, they can take themselves off to the wellbeing hub, chat to somebody, talk something through, ready to get them back into the next lesson, so they're ready to go, so they're not tailing off for the rest of the day. So there's a huge amount of support for them built in there.
Okay, thank you. We have other questions for you. So Torishe says, thank you so much. What a great school. May I please ask, what provision do you have for neurodivergent children?
Yes, so we have, again, we have a really strong SEND department. We have a Senko and her team with assistants that we already have neurodivergent children in the school, and they would, before coming into the school, during that admission stage, you'd have a meeting with the Senko online, and we talk about not only how we could support them in the day, but how we could support them in the evenings. And we've got borders where we have to kind of slightly adjust what we do for them in the evening time. And we had one girl, for example, who we could never when we had the fire alarm, she hated loud noises. So if we were having a test, for example, we kind of had to give her a tip off that evening there would be a fire drill at some point, so she could kind of compose herself, and it wasn't unexpected and causing a lot of kind of drama when it all went off. She was prepared. She didn't know exactly when, so you still got that element that we would need for the fire drill and for people to react to it. But she knew that it would be happening that evening, so was prepared. And when we're making changes, for instance, to the schedule in an evening, we'd let her know before we decide. We told all the girls at house meeting, because otherwise she thought whenever we were talking about something, it was just, or we're talking about messy rooms, for example. Her room was always neat, so we would say, look, by the way, your room's fine, but I do have to speak to all the girls tonight about the state of their rooms. So please be aware that when I'm talking to the girls as a group, it's not to you, it's to everybody. So it's little allowances like that, particularly those boarders and students with kind of neurodivergence that we can really cater for.
Okay, we have other questions. I'm sure the parents would have loved to ask their questions live, but for lack of time, I'll just read out the questions as against and letting them ask you live. So I have two other questions. I'll read out the two questions and then you can take it together, or take them together rather. Miss Moses says, how do schools prioritize reading in a tech-driven world? And then we have Torishe ask again, also, with regards to acting, performance, and music, what programs do you have in place to support children with these passions? Do you support LAMDA and or English Speaking Board? How often are stage productions put on?
Lovely. I'll talk to you about the reading first. So once a week, every morning, we have in our form time, we have a kind of half an hour form time before school. There's a dedicated morning each week committed to reading, and children are encouraged to bring their own books, but each classroom is stocked with a massive box of books as well, for students to be reading kind of every morning. We have little reading corners in both boarding houses as well. The head of the girls' house is a voracious reader, and so she started a little book club within Lichfield as well. So there's a few girls there who have joined that, and they're reading a book at the minute and talking about that, meeting once a week. And I think it's just about modelling as well. So my staff as well in the evenings will always have a book on our desks to kind of, when we can, 5 minutes, although it's not always easy on a busy evening in the boarding house, kind of pick up that book and model it there. I think that's the best way forward. And we, in terms of tech, we collect in devices overnight. So depending on your age, we have slightly different bedtimes and hand-in times, but we collect those mobile devices and tablets and monitor cables in at night to make sure that they are kind of getting that break away from tech, because although tech is great and we should embrace it, it's really important that we're doing what we can to make sure there's the correct balance.